Hi, Santiago. Congratulations. How are you feeling, obviously, with having this wonderful opportunity?
Great. It's always great to be on a job, to be working, and I've just really enjoyed it. It's been a really fun character to go on a journey with, and I've enjoyed the show a lot. So it's been good.
Definitely. I would love to hear about how this opportunity came to be. Obviously, you're joining into season 3 of a very successful show, in my opinion, and many other people's opinions as well. What was it like finding out that you had the opportunity to dive into this character and to join the cast? How did this all kind of come to fruition for you?
Yeah, they. I was approached by producers of the show, and I'd worked with Warner Brothers on Flight Attendant, so they came at me, just before the strike, and then the strike happened, so everything went quiet. And then when that was over, they came back, and it was still alive and happening, and so that was a real blessing. And in the meantime, I'd had a chance to watch the show. There was 2 seasons that I could access, and I thought it was a really fun chance to play a character I hadn't played before. I loved the sort of dangerous aspect of him, this man that's like a good father and lives, honors his family and loves his family, but at the same time comes from a world of violence. And that part of and the immigration story of the show is something very refreshing angle to see on TV. So I thought there was just so many elements that appealed to me.
That's wonderful. I'm curious to ask you, especially from an acting perspective, because that's personally something that I'm always very interested in.
Right.
When you were approaching your character, like you mentioned, it's something that you haven't really had the opportunity to really like dig into before. This was a fun, I assume, challenge, but in a very fun and creative way. Was this a very collaborative process to be able to kind of develop your character, or was this more like, this is the idea that we've seen your abilities in other ways, do what you want, and let's kind of like meet in the middle? What did that process look like for you?
I think it was a combination of both, where they have an idea of what they want. I got a very sort of a breakdown of who he was, and I find that in itself was refreshing, because a lot of the time people just, there's not much of a description. They don't really know. They're kind of going, with it as it goes along. But there is a discovery process, and I love to collaborate. I feel like the more you're in something, you really own the character, and I love to throw ideas out there. And I feel like my kind of philosophy always is, if you don't have an idea that you can, or an alternative that you can throw to someone, then just don't, if there's something you want to change or you don't like, either you have an idea, like a suggestion that you can offer, or just, stay quiet, as opposed to just cutting things down. So there was a really great collaboration, and kudos to the writers as well, because they were very open to that. They were very keen on that, and they encouraged that. And I find that that shows just a great spirit, and egos are all dropped, and because at the end of the day, a good idea is a good idea, doesn't matter who it came from. So I think you feed off of what they're doing, they feed off of what you're doing, and then the more you get into it, you collaborate, and and the more time that passes, the more you know your character, so then you start to own it more, and you kind of know what he would do in certain circumstances. So yeah.
I love that. A great response to that, by the way. I enjoy it. I love nerding out on those types of things. I think it's so much fun.
I could talk about acting all the time. I love it. I've been doing it for long, but I love it so much. I love being on set. I love being around other actors and people. And I'm one of those nerdy actors. I could just go into tangents and talk about character and gestures and what this means, that means, and movies and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Your breath work and your movement and everything in between, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I love it all.
I'm curious to know, obviously, I've had the opportunity to see different portions of season 3. I've seen the trailer. I was at the event a couple of months ago, back when we had the opportunity to see an episode and to really kind of dig into the whole process. What was it like joining into this really talented, I mean, extremely talented, it's a beautiful cast of people that you had the opportunity to join into. What was that like for you?
It was great, because it's great when you join and they're all ready to go, because they've got the characters in them for a couple of years, and that, it was a huge incentive for me to know I'd be working opposite Elodie. I love all the rest. I love Martha and Sean. I think the family's great, but I knew I wasn't going to work with them so much. But Elodie's someone she's got the character down, and she plays around with it a lot. So I was just telling someone, like, I feel like with her, what was on the page ends up being, when I work with her, ends up being very different what's on the screen, because we both really like to shape things, and we like to try things out differently. So if she tries something different, I would respond. If I tried something different, she would respond. So I feel like we would do different kinds of takes, and also like work on the scenes beforehand. So it was fun because it kept it fresh, and it also, like, there was that surprise factor where you go in thinking the scene's about one thing, and then when you're doing it, you realize it's about something else, and then that's kind of where the magic happens.
That's beautiful. It's like a layered cake. You just keep going. And I think that's
Yeah.
so awesome.
Yeah.
And finally, obviously, to wrap up with everything, I know that, I mean, obviously the show has a very, very beautifully crafted, very involved fan base. And I think it's so wonderful. And I personally am a huge fan of the show. What do you think that the audience is really going to resonate and connect with in terms of season 3? Do you think it's going to be like, obviously your character coming into the show? Do you think that maybe the plot, like, what do you think, just gut instinct, that this audience is really going to be like, okay, we need a season 4 after seeing season 3? What's going to be that factor or those factors for them?
Well, I hope it's my and Kate's character, because we're the
Right.
new one. But
Yeah.
no, but I mean, you know, they're already hooked with old storylines. I think, yes, you hope you're bringing something new and different, and it gets to go in a different direction, a fresh direction because of that. But also, like Elodie's characters, Tony's on her own this season. She doesn't have the protection she had before, so that's also a whole new element, you know, to it. And it's, you know, the danger. There's a lot of danger in the show, and the danger just gets more dangerous as it goes along, and the unpredictability of these characters, and kind of who are your alliances, who can you trust, you know. And I think a lot of that really unravels this season, and it goes in some pretty crazy directions. So I think the fun is really action packed, and it moves very, very quickly, and yeah, and I think it has its own voice, you know, as well. It's like it's a new season. It has its own voice.
I love that. Well, thank you so much again for speaking with us, and congratulations again. We're over here hoping for season 4, very much so. And I appreciate all of your time. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.